Well, so here's the first proper update on the Olds. Still running good. Have an appointment to go in and hopefully get it smogged on Wednesday. That is, as long as the engine light behaves itself and continues to do so. I've actually had to readjust the TPS now at least 3 times, I think. But I kept getting voltage readings off the internet that were saying pretty much all over the place, but it's actually supposed to be in between 0.38 to 0.42 volts. So I changed that up. I have it set to 0.40. So hopefully it'll continue to behave itself. I rectified the starting issue simply by replacing the battery. I, did everything I could, and it was actually a fairly simple fix because I figured that this car had been sitting for a little while, so the battery was the most logical place to start checking. So I took the old battery out, brought it into O'Reilly's, had them check it, and sure enough, a few of the cells were bad, so it wasn't holding a charge. This one, on the other hand, I put in last week, and it's been fine ever since. Car's started without issue. I also replaced the transmission mount, which was easy enough to change out. I've never seen a metric bolt with standard sized nuts on the back of it, and that's the one that's going through it lengthwise like that. Never seen that before, but it is something that's kind of different. Let's see, what else did I do? I replaced all the spark plugs and the wires. I am going to replace all 3 coil packs. The car is running a little rough, and based on the experience I had with that Chevy Lumina, which had 3.1 V6 in it, similar but they're not the same. That one was kind of running rough a little bit, and replacing all the coils and the ignition control module, which is the piece that they sit on top of, seemed to rectify that issue. So I ordered 3 of those off of Amazon, and they were like 14 bucks a piece. Freaking AutoZone wanted almost 40 for one, and yeah, I wasn't going to do that. But everything else on this thing seems to be okay. The AC does work, but if anything, it does need to be charged. The serpentine belt's good. I don't have to mess with that. The air filter even is good. I didn't replace this. This is the one that came with the car. Get out of there. And it's still plenty clean, so not going to worry about that. This thing does need an oil change, but I want to get the car smogged first. The brakes seem to work okay now that I've been driving it. There was a little bit of rust on the front discs, and I don't even know if the rear has discs. It looks like they're drum. You know what? Yeah, they're drum. So the back's got drums. I have not checked those yet. But as far as the fronts are concerned, just driving the car has really helped out the braking situation. Just, when your rotors get rust and corrosion on them, the best way to clean them off is really just to drive the car, and it scrapes it all off naturally with the pads. So that all seems to be working out just fine. I did pull the old stereo out, and you guys can see I'm still doing some work in here. Replaced a bunch of fuses, but I put this cheapy $20 stereo in from Amazon, and it seems to be working out pretty good. I don't really have any issues with it. It doesn't have a CD player, but it's been, I don't know, almost 10 years since I've really committed to using any sort of CDs in a car. But everything else seems to be okay. I also found out that the fuse for the cigarette lighter kept popping. So I unhooked the cigarette lighter and removed it and put a new fuse in, and it didn't pop. So the old cigarette lighter is kind of screwy. I don't know if I'm going to change that out. I may. But here's the other parts of the trim pieces, which I'm doing a aerosol overhaul on, I guess you could say. This one was really worn out. A lot of the paint was just, taken off of it, and they're easy enough just to shoot a few sprays of paint on that. Figured I might as well have just done it, so I did. And I painted that one the same color. It really didn't need to be painted, but I did it anyways. And then here is the front part of the grill. I just went ahead and spray painted that a little bit. No, this thing looks far from perfect. In fact, I fixed a crack on the where it had cracked up here and was separated. So yeah, it doesn't look the best, but honestly I don't really care about perfection as far as this stuff goes. And the new white paint will make that look a lot better. So this stuff's all dry, it's just sitting out here in the sun. But everything else is going on it. There is a few niggling small things that need to be looked at on this car. The first one is the turn signal. Put into, left turn position. The back tail light just stays on. So it doesn't blink, the light comes on, and if you want to make it blink, you have to turn it up and down to make it blink. The front doesn't come on at all, but for the hazards, all 4 lights come on. So it's not a bulb issue, it's something with the wiring. Probably the turn signal switch, which are cheap enough to replace, is probably the culprit. If it's not that, it's this little guy that's in here. So we'll have to see about that and see what I can do to rectify that. Thankfully, because this is a 90s GM car, parts are all over the place for this thing. They're very easy to come by. And stuff like a turn signal switch, no issues there finding. So as soon as I get that attended to, and then the window regulator motors need to be changed, I might be able to get away with just replacing the strap on them. I believe these have the straps on them to bring the window up and down. Not 100% about that, but I'll have to basically take the door cards off and look at that. But they're both doing the same thing. They're taking a while to come down and go back up. So I figure it's just old. I've had similar issues like that on some of my other cars, and replacing the window motors seemed to rectify that as well. So everything else seems to be going okay on it. I did also replace the throttle position sensor, which I probably didn't have to do because at the end of the day it seemed that it was just a connector issue. So I cut the old connector off, spliced in a new one. You guys can see that's brand new. And I've also got both of these motor mounts over here to do next. One of them I did have an issue with AutoZone. It looked like it was a prior used part. So I took it back to them, and they kind of agreed with that. So they ordered me up another one, and it's not going to be here till Tuesday or Wednesday. But then this one I have, but I believe I left it at the house. I don't know how well you guys can see that. But they're not impossible to get to, but I think for this one I'm going to have to take the tire off in order to hopefully get to it. This one shouldn't be too difficult, but with these motor mounts you do have to put a jack underneath the motor and kind of situate it so it's level. And then when you go to put the new ones in, you have to basically situate the jack a few different times to get the bolts through. Not hard, it just takes a while, it's tedious. So I'll let you guys know of anything else that's going on with this thing. So here's the somewhat finished product. There's the grill all nice and painted up. Can't really tell unless you look at it, but you can clearly see the crack right there. Looks better than it did though, and that's all that matters. I also got the painted trim pieces back in the car. That's what all that looks like. So I put this cassette thing back in just because I don't have anything else to put back in there. And that's pretty much a direct path right into the behind the panel here. A little bit of runs here, but oh well, I'm not really too worried about that. Looks a bit better. The one thing I don't like though about this paint is that it's just really rough. I guess I could have sanded down that trim piece, but again, I'm not really all that worried about it. So I guess I can get you guys a start and a little bit of driving of this beast. Check engine lights staying off, which is good. Gotta go and get some lunch. And then I've got some more work to do on that thing, which will be a separate video probably. So, let's get going. Oops. Forgot my hammer. It's Harbor Freight, unlimited warranty. I wish they sold these things with the 5-speeds for this motor. The 5-speeds were only offered with the 4 cylinders and, you know, whatever trims the 4 cylinders came with. They also had a sport version of this car, believe it or not, which I find kind of entertaining. But even for the amount of power this thing has, it really does not have sport suspension. I mean, you wouldn't think it, but a car like this you would think would be really choppy and rough. But this car actually handles, as far as a road car goes, it handles really well. It's really floaty. The suspension's really soft. It probably could do to be replaced. But this car has definitely got some pickup. I'll see if I can get you guys a 0 to 60 real fast. 3, 2. There's a run for you guys. This car's got a lot of power for such an old car. I mean, and I'm not saying that just because of its age. I'm saying that just because back at this time, these motors, they didn't have the higher compression numbers that we have today. So this car, I believe, only puts out like 160 or 180 horsepower. I think it's 160 and it's like 185 pound-feet of torque. But the thing is, this car is just so light that it's almost like you have more power than you do. This thing's definitely got some pep to it. It really does. But I'm gonna go get some lunch, and if anything else happens, I'll let you know. But if not, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You all stay classy.